If you haven't listened to it yet, be sure to head on over and check out part 1 of the 100th episode of the BumbleKast. Link will be down in the video description. Our next question comes from Tony V. Is Sonic ever going to find out that him letting Metal Sonic go is what led to Eggman regaining his memories? Not gonna lie, that part really bothered me. Sonic freeing Metal, I mean.
It will be addressed, but I feel like folks are not understanding that issue. And I don't know if it's because I didn't write it well or what, but Starline says he's making progress. He is clearly getting Eggman back to his old self. It's just Metal Sonic was able to push him over the edge faster. If Metal Sonic had been locked up, if Metal Sonic had not found Eggman, if you had removed Metal Sonic from the equation, Eggman would still have come back. Starline was getting him there. It was just taking longer than he expected. So Metal Sonic is not the linchpin to the change that everyone seems to think he was. I don't know where that misconception really came from. Maybe I got to reread the issue again to see why the message didn't come across. But now Sonic's compassion is definitely the talking point. You know, as Shadow so succinctly put in his last appearance, had Sonic just offed Mr. Tinker, they wouldn't be dealing with the Metal Virus Saga. The world would not be ending. But as Sonic pointed out in that issue, was it really right to punish someone who clearly isn't Dr. Eggman anymore? There is no easy answer. There's no real right or wrong to it, but we will be touching upon it going forward.
All right. And the next one is from Mr. Zy64. Or maybe Z64. I don't know. Had Archie Sonic continued, if you were to have made Team Hooligan, maybe just Bark and Bean, go on a redemption arc to be more in line with their game counterparts with him being one of Sonic's friends, you could have called the arc Hooligans to Heroes.
This is a fan idea. Don't do this.
It's not a question.
Do not send this in, please. Because that right there, had you sent this in when the Archie Sonic comic was going, and we, had acknowledged it on the show, that idea is off the table because it is your idea. I cannot use it. Do not send me fan ideas, please. We've been doing this for 100 episodes. Do not send me these ideas. Also, Bean and Bark virtually had no characterization coming up to this point, and as Sonic Mania seems to imply, they're actually following the Hooligans' idea. So I kind of indirectly made that canon now. So they are the Hooligans. That's just it. They are.
Alrighty. Next question comes from Vagester. How many seasons does DBZA currently have? I don't know why we got this question.
No, but they've done, as of this recording, 3 seasons, and I think next up they're doing the BoJack movie, and then they'll eventually be getting to season 4, which I'm excited for because I really love what they do. And I would love to be involved somehow. I can do voices, guys. Come on. You don't even know who I am, do you? But no, they are just what they have done and what they've been able to do with their group, do something just for funsies and then turn it into a business is inspiring, and I'm super jealous of them. And just, it's great. I'm really happy for their success.
Future Silver asks, do you plan on having a scene where only Silver and Blaze work together or have a conversation about their separate lives? I think this already happened.
It has, and this is right on the line of a fan idea, but it's vague enough that it's not a problem. But
how dare you make them talk to each other, Ian? I'm going to sue you.
Specifically those 2 characters, but that's so broad that, it could happen. So maybe. I don't have it slated, but if you read the Sonic 2019 annual, you got exactly that.
All right. Next question comes from Grabastic or Grabastic. I'm not sure.
Grabastic?
Grabastic.
I like Grabastic, but Grabastic's also fun to say.
Like fantastic, except Grabastic?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure. Did you ever consider hinting at or possibly even confirming Sonic/Shadow in the comics? Or do you ship them or any other gay ship in Sonic personally?
There is no way I would get away with Sonato. in an official capacity. There's no way Sega would let me do that. That, and I don't even need to try because
it just kind of happens.
that two issues where Sonic and Shadow are debating the morality of taking out Tinker and are literally throwing each other into trees. A lot of the reactions to that were, "Oh my God, they're so in love," and it's like, no, what? How? How do you get that?
It's called negging, Ian.
But I mean, if that's how you want to read it, fine. More power to you. In terms of an actual gay relationship in the canon characters, nobody springs to mind to me. Like, nobody seems to feel like they've got that connection, at least to me. And because they are not my characters, it's entirely up to Sega to say who is paired with who. Beyond that, we could do pretty much whatever with the original characters, I'm assuming. I mean, I know IDW as a publisher would be open to that sort of thing, but I am also so weary of the shipping wars. Straight, gay, whatever. Just, I'm kind of tired of the characters being pigeonholed into who they're dating and ignoring everything else about the characters. So maybe we'll introduce a pairing like that in the future. I don't know, but it's not something I'm avoiding. It's not something I'm opposed to. I'm just tired of people wanting to pair up everybody else. There's other stuff going on in the story. Come on.
Sure. All right. Next question comes from Mary G. How do I submit a portfolio to IDW?
There is no direct way that I am aware of. I think they've shut down their submissions email. But if you go to my website, bumbleking.com, under the FAQ section, there is a general guide on how to prepare and submit a portfolio. More or less, if there is any way to contact the editors, like a letters page or something, you can send it through that. Attention, editor's name, and send along the PDF or the hyperlink or whatever you have. It is not a 100% comprehensive, here is the exact email to send it to, because you need to do a little bit of work on your own, I feel like. But I try to give you as much info so that you can be prepared. And frankly, if you can't figure out how to email an editor when they put the email out there, I feel like that kind of weeds out some folks. Maybe this is the grumpy old man in me, but we get so many emails and such that ignore, what my email is, what the BumbleKast email is. Just please, we give you 4 different options of asking questions, and folks just cannot seem to be bothered to do that. It's like, do a little bit of work on your end, and I'll help you as much as I can. Otherwise, I feel like I am now ragging on Mary, and that is totally not fair to Mary. That's not directed at you. Totally not directing that at you, Mary. I'm sorry. I got on a rant. Like I said, my website, it's got a guide. Email your stuff to like the letters pages at that they list in the comic, and that should at least give you an avenue to approach. Other than that, go to one of the major shows like New York Comic Con or whatever, or see who's going to be there in terms of publishers, and bring your portfolio with you. I know a few people who made a point of spending like an entire day trying to get in front of an editor, and that got them in the door. You really got to work for it because it's a very small industry, and there is a lot of nepotism in it because it is such a small industry
and competition.
Yeah, so just if you really want it, keep fighting for it. You may not get it today, but perseverance is one of the major factors in it. So good luck to you.
All right, next question comes from JCJ. If the pre-reboot Sonic comic continued, would Jeffrey have been redeemed and become a good guy again, or would he have stayed a villain?
Going to be covering that in Lost Hedgehog Tales, which is currently on indefinite hiatus because who knows what's going on behind the scenes? I kind of do, and I can't talk about it.
I think this is the first time we've said it will be answered in Lost Hedgehog Tales this whole time, I think. I don't think you've had to resort to that yet in any of the other questions. All right. Next question comes from Corey S. when it comes to your unused plans with Hershey the Cat / St. John, how did you write her personality when you were improving on her characterization? Did you picture her as kind to others and confident in battle? And what else was there?
With Hershey, again, Lost Hedgehog Tales, that will cover stuff. But Hershey, one had to actually give her a character first.
Yeah.
And then build on that.
Uh-huh.
But when approaching her and where we were going with her, my question was, all right, Jeffrey has been a major part in her life, a major stabilizing part in her life. And then while she's away, living a life that he more or less groomed her for, she finds out that he was lying to her and everyone about everything. How would she react to that? The answer is not too positively. For details, Lost Hedgehog Tales, one day, hopefully. I am as impatient about it as you guys are, believe me.
All right, next question is a bit of a long one from Bethany B. In the last issue of Archie's Mega Man number 55, you teased about the whole Quint story, which you also hinted at in number 20, an issue which was great, by the way, really shows how far you planned ahead. Even the very quotes held up in number 20 from scenes that would pay out later in the Raw Moon and Mega Man 3 sagas. Anyway, I couldn't help but wonder how that story would have resolved since the games never resolved it. That creative decision would have been on your shoulders. What would have happened to Quint after fighting our Mega Man? Would he have gotten sent back to his time and become a rock again? Would he have even survived the fight?
That is a good question because I hadn't really set it in stone, in part because I didn't know what Capcom would let me do. And Quint is in this tricky situation because he is the future of Classic beyond what the games will ever probably get to, and is almost in this weird bridging state between Classic and X. Kinda. Maybe. I also really wanted to adapt... Oh, shoot. What was the Wonder Swan game? Mega Man and Bass to...
Electric Boogaloo?
Challengers of the Future or something like that.
Yeah,
where
I think something like that, yeah.
It was Rockman Shadow, technically, who was... From what I remember, basically Wily's attempt to copy Mega Man, who he gave up on to create Quint. Except he had the same look as Quint. He used the same weird jackhammer spring thingy as Quint. He came from the future like Quint. He was Quint, all right? Really, when you get down to it. And one of the things I wanted to do with the series was kind of simplify and make things more concise. So what I wanted to do, broad strokes, is we would do the Quint story from, oh shoot, what was that? Mega Man?
I don't know.
Oh man, it's been so long.
I don't.
Do the Quint story. He goes back to the future. He comes back with his Robot Masters from the Wonder Swan game. And from there, he would be repaired and returned to the future as this different Mega Man. You know, he has been through the fire. He can't be Rock anymore. And then how does that apply to the future of Classic from there? It would have been an interesting thing to explore. A couple of stumbling blocks, though, is when we were doing the flashback or flash forward stories, I remember we couldn't use the Robot Masters from the Wonder Swan game. And that would have possibly thrown a wrench in the works. Plus, I have no idea how much leeway Capcom would have given us with the narrative like that. So I don't know exactly how Quint would have played out, but that's the abridged version of what I was thinking at the time.
All right, and our next question comes from Popeye Otaku. Important question. I can't do it. What the heck was that? That was awful. Important question.
You are Russian bootleg, Popeye.
Apparently. That's all I can
Spinach
do.
belong to all.
That's all I can do. I can't do it.
Wow.
Wow, important question. I keep doing Russian.
Which Sonic character do you do or do not eat their spinach? That was equally awful.
That was Porky Pig, almost.
Yeah.
we can't do it.
Strong to the finish because I eat. I forget it.
That's terrible. Important question. I keep doing Russian.
Just read it straight.
Important question. Which Sonic characters do or do not eat their spinach? I can't freaking do it.
Sorry, Popeye Otaku, we just cannot reach your power level.
I cannot. No, I cannot reach it. I am woefully inadequately underpowered. Anyway, go ahead, Ian. Who eats their spinach?
Knuckles does, clearly.
Yeah.
Cream does. She's a good girl. She cleans her plate before dessert.
Mighty does.
Oh, Mighty, like, he flexes and spinach grows around him.
He inhales it.
I suppose Tails does. It's high in iron. That's kind of a brain food, right?
Sure.
Eggman does. He eats anything, really.
Does he?
Oh, sure. He's surprisingly healthy. He just has a gut.
Oh, okay. I know he drinks oil.
Yeah,
Or at least
that's the problem. That's the oil retention.
Or at least he did at some point. I don't know if he still does.
Sonic and Amy, not so much.
Amy hates green.
Mm-hmm. There have been vicious fights in the Chaotix household to get Charmin to eat his greens. Espio insists on it, and Vector's like, oh yeah, absolutely, and then just kind of quietly hides his own bowl off to the side.
I was going to say, Vector should be eating meat and exclusively meat. Anyone else? I don't know.
I figured that's the breadth of it.
Does Tangle eat hers? Probably not. Whisper,
Oh, absolutely not.
Whisper probably does.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll go with that. It's terrible. I cannot believe the embarrassment I am to Popeye Otaku. Jeez, that's terrible. Anyway, next question comes from Jim. How closely do you collaborate with Sega employees while working on the IDW Sonic comics? And do you ever get the opportunity to ask them about loose ends or other mysteries from the gameverse? Such that if you wanted to address loose ends from the games and the comics, you could, even if they are two separate canons.
I don't work too directly with Sega. I send my stuff into the editors at IDW, who then send it off to Sega for approvals and back and forth. I know that our team in Sega of America is very cool. I've enjoyed, meeting and talking with them about stuff. They're very good for the book, but I don't usually directly interact with them. That's just not the process. I have had the opportunity here and there to ask some questions directly to Izuka-san, and I have gotten some interesting answers. As for directly addressing those, that's not really on the table right now for reasons.
All right, next question comes from Camellia. The soul in Archie Sonic Pre-Gen is the very thoughts, personality, and vital force of being, which is above the physical world. Something similar to the theory of Plato's tripartite soul? Tripartite soul, maybe?
That started off as a statement and then ended in a question mark.
Yeah. Anyway, you know anything about the theory of Plato's tripartite soul?
It has been a long, long time since I've studied my Plato, and I don't believe it's applicable to Sonic at all in any context.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to the school of Play-Doh. I'm going to have
You can have as much as you want, just finish your spinach.
I'm going to have the theory of Play-Doh in that it's delicious. That's the theory. Next question comes from Spencer V. Does IDW have any plans to do a Sonic X comic book? I know Sega is unusually picky with that show, but I think the fans deserve some closure after the big cliffhanger at the end of Season 3. It's the best Sonic series and deserves to be brought back.
The best? If you go for like most of Season 1, maybe, but the best? Agree to disagree on that one. But no Sonic X book. Sonic X and pretty much all previous spin-off cartoons are off the table. They are inaccessible.
All right. And the next one is from Markzilla6895. Was the metal virus that's an IDW Sonic comic going to be Eggman's new roboticizer?
Yes. As folks have seen on my Twitter, What I was building towards in the Archie Sonic Volume 2 stuff was the metal virus being Eggman's answer to robotization no longer working in the world. Obviously, we didn't get there because the book got killed off before 300. No, I'm never going to not be salty about that. So, repurposed it for IDW Sonic, and I'm pretty sure we've covered this earlier in this episode, but no, it would not have been the same story between the two books. Completely different because of various factors.
All right. And this next one is from Crazy Cruise 4. There's a chance Sonic and Amy stay together in the future.
Statement, not a question, but I get what you're going for.
You could have tacked a question mark on that, but there's not one there, so I just read it as a statement.
Oh, so it's your fault. I see how it is.
Right. Yep.
That is up to Sega. I have no horse in that race. I have no say on it. It is up to them.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're not the secret Sonic?
I am passing that buck as hard as I can.
You're not the.
I do not want that responsibility on my shoulders.
You're not the secret Son Amy shipper trying to impose your will on the fandom.
Depends on who you ask. Either I am quite clearly a Son Amy shipper, or I'm quite clearly a Son Sally shipper. I am trying to destroy the fan base one way or the other. Just search the YouTube videos and listen to the crazy rants.
I think you're secretly a Son Ado shipper. We just don't know it yet. I don't know, man.
I'm so tired of shipping, dude. It is so.
I know it's so expensive. You gotta take the packages to the place where they take them from you. It's a pain, especially if you're trying to do international shipping. It's just a freaking it sucks.
You know what? I might have to just start this kind of unofficial tip jar type thing, where every time somebody asks me about a ship, I just say, "Okay, Sonic and Elise, for realsies, forever and ever."
Okay.
The more you push it, the more it's going to become a reality. Don't test me, internet. I'm a man on the edge. Somebody out there is actually believing I'm going to do this. No, just next question, please.
Anyway, yes. I was just thinking maybe Crazy Cruise 4 was just speaking this into the world. Like, if I say this, it will become true.
Like, more power to you, buddy.
Something
keep
like
trying.
that.
We'll see what happens.
Something like that. Anyway, next one is from Ryan B. Why did they, Archie, Capcom, SCAN, the Mega Man comic? You did such an incredible job, and you were building it into a true world, not just VG stories.
I don't know. I really don't. I have heard various rumors, but nothing that I can concretely say, yes, that is the nail in the coffin. All I know is that one day it was like, yep, we're done. We get to wrap up a 4-issue arc. We get to do the big kind of farewell for number 55, but keep it open-ended. I know that there's still folks in various places of authority that want it back. So hope springs eternal, but I don't know. I'm just the writer. I am low man on the totem pole.
All right. Our next one is from Gooey Gabs? Guy Gabs?
Gwee Gabs?
Gwee Gabs? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that.
Gwee Gabs.
Maybe one of those pronunciations is correct. Maybe none of them are. You decide. All right. Do you have something planned for Tangle and Whisper, like a big story in mind for them besides the 4-part comic? Not depending if you guys get the chance to make another comic about them. Can we consider them a team just as Sonic and Tails are?
No immediate plans for another big Tangle Whisper arc. Depending on how well the miniseries does, I think will affect that in part. I don't want to call them a team like Sonic and Tails just because I don't want them to be like forever attached to each other. They weren't intended to be a duo. They were meant to be their own individual characters. They're great together. They're a lot of fun. But I don't want it to become a thing where it's like Tangle shows up. Oh, well, Whisper has to show up. Whether or not the story is geared for it. I want them to be their own separate entities, able to tell their own stories, but they do work well together.
All right, next question comes from Biostar96. Just read the first issue of Tangle and Whisper, and it was an entertaining read. Gotta say, though, I was surprised that original characters got their own miniseries, especially so early in the comic's life. Did you float the idea to IDW after you saw how popular they got, or was it the other way around when they approached you to write run? Any plans for future miniseries featuring different characters?
This was actually IDW's prompting. Never in a million years would I have dreamed that we could get original characters in their own miniseries within the first year of a book. That's insane.
That's awesome.
And it's really a testament to just how much fan demand has impact on this series. You guys loved Tangle and Whisper so much that we got them a miniseries this early. That's just mind-boggling. So when they said, hey, we want you to pitch this miniseries, I was like, really? Well, alrighty then. And here we go. And from my understanding, so far it's doing very well. At least number 1. I haven't heard any numbers on number 2, but usually number 2's dip. That's not a big deal. Anyway, seems to be doing great. Folks seem to be loving it. I'm very happy with it. It has gotten me brave enough to pitch another miniseries. Way too early to talk about it because it has not been approved at all. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know. I mean, the more love you guys show these books and these characters, the more opportunity we're going to have with them. So we'll just see how it goes. I am not trying to predict the future anymore because I was completely caught off guard by Tangle and Whisper mini. So cool beans.
All right, next one is Yara T. I'm here to ask about my favorite character, Amy Rose. One of the things that confuses me is the power range she is able to have. Besides her Pico Pico hammer, in Sonic CD she has the ability of reading tarot cards, predicting the future, and turning invisible, and many other weird things. I'm sure these powers were just products of their games and comics, but I was wondering, does Amy have some secret powers that she hides from everybody, or some powers that she doesn't even realize she has?
Oh, Yara, I am right there with you. I wish there was an explanation for Amy's magic bag of tricks. I really do. But I don't think there is. I would love to get the opportunity to explain it away, to give a reason for Amy to have these abilities, and for her to be able to showcase them, instead of just, having the invisibility power once, and it's completely forgotten forever. What is it about her that enables her to have these special skills? What is the truth behind these myriad of abilities? And there isn't one yet. And I don't know if I will ever get the chance to tackle that, but I want it as much as you do. So fingers crossed. Maybe one day we will get to address it.
All right. The next question comes from Snorunt Pyro. What robot masters that didn't show up in the comics would you have loved to write the most?
Star Droids immediately springs to mind. I really, really, really wanted to get to that arc. I was especially excited to really dig into the Cossack Robot Masters because we had been building up towards that since number 1.
Yep.
Beyond that, I would have to go back and redo my research. When we were doing the flash forward stories, I did as much research as I could without burning myself out, but I didn't really get in depth with a lot of the post 4 Robot Masters. Just, what factoids can I use to seed things beforehand? So I'm sure there are other Robot Masters down the line that I would have had fun with, but those are the groups that immediately spring to mind. My opinion may change, if we get the chance to explore them further.
You want to write Clown Man?
See, I feel like he was one of the more interesting ones, because wasn't he like...
He kind of was, yeah.
Was he the one built from spare parts, or was he...
I don't remember, but he was weird, yeah.
I feel like he and another Robot Master were technically made
there was
from
junk,
the parts of a...
Junk Man, I don't know.
Well, no, Junk Man was made of junk specifically. I think it was it was something weird, it was like Clown Man and Hydro Man or something like that, where they both came from the parts of a singular robot, and there was a opportunity to explore maybe a sense of brotherhood between the two of them. I don't know. It's been so long. It's been so long, Kyle.
You could write Spring Man Wait, was Springman in the book already? I don't remember.
No, Springman.
Springman did not show
I
up.
want to say it was Mega Man 7.
He is Mega Man 7, yes. Yep, first Mega Man game I ever played.
Well, there you go.
And that's why I still love it, even though people crap on it all the time. Stop that. Stop that. All right. Next question comes from Barrett B. Also I say all right a lot. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Okay. Hey, I'm a big Scourge fan. Can you tell me if there was a plan for Scourge after lockdown, and if there was, what was it? Also, were Scourge and Fiona truly in love, or were they using each other?
Yes, there were plans for Scourge. Very definitive plans. Those will be covered in Lost Hedgehog Tales. As for Scourge and Fiona's relationship, it was complicated. If you mean, in terms of did they love each other in the way that, Sonic and Sally loved each other? No. Nothing that pure, nothing that simple. It was more kind of a codependence.
So they were using each other.
Yeah, it was one of the things that would have to be addressed eventually was that Fiona was in a very unhealthy relationship with Scourge, and unhealthy on multiple levels. It was more that he kind of facilitated and emboldened her negative attributes, and it allowed her to act out in ways that were just unhealthy for her, allowing her to ignore potential character growth. She could be comfortable in the self-serving nature that she was. Scourge is just a massive egotist, so anyone who showed him some degree of fealty in whatever form, whether it be companionship or being a toady or whatever, he would embrace because he just liked feeling important and wanted. So they were basically using each other to a degree, but I would say Fiona was in the worse end of the deal and the more dangerous end of the deal, since she was more reliant on Scourge's negative support, and Scourge didn't really need her. He could always throw her to the side and find somebody else to prop himself up. So it was this kind of sick, twisted kind of love, not the good kind, not a healthy kind, not a kind that you really want to emulate at all.
Next question comes from that one Sonic guy. Not that one.
Oh, it's that one Sonic guy.
Not that one. That one.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, that one. Not that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Is the entirety of the game continuity a zone in post-SGW Archie Sonic? And if so, is it a copy of the game continuity or the actual real game continuity? I don't quite understand this question, but go ahead.
Let's dissect this a bit. So in Archie Sonic Volume 1, pre-Super Genesis Wave, zones were pocket dimensions. They were physical spaces between spaces. In Volume 2, after the Genesis Wave, zones were treated more like physical regions on a map. So, Mushroom Hill Zone would not be its own pocket dimension. It would be just a zone, an area that was Mushroom Hill. So to say the game's post-reboot being in a zone, I think is confusing terms. So just drop the idea of zone as its own dimension entirely if you're talking Archie Volume 2. In terms of how those games were applied to that continuity, roughly speaking, they happened chronologically and in their more or less how they were presented as in-game. Now, clearly there's going to be some wiggle room because the Freedom Fighters were a major part of the backstory. They would have been injected into the classic series. They might have shown up somewhere in the modern series. But speaking in very, very broad terms, the games roughly happened how they happened leading into Volume 2's continuity.
Get in the zone. Sonic Zone. Next question comes from Evan S. Not Evanescence, just Evan S. Has it occurred to you that the Sonic movie might be a prequel to Sonic 1? The evidence that points to this includes the fact that Dr. Robotnik has no idea who Sonic is, and Sonic says, basically, I'm here to save your planet. This backs up the two-world statement. Also, it looks as though Tyson is working on the redesign. Thoughts on that?
I know some things, and I don't know if I should know these things, so I'm not going to say the things that I know. And sorry, I'm just going to have to bow out of that question just to be safe.
To me, it seems kind of like they're working with the original, let's say the original backstory for Sonic, where he was like an actual hedgehog that lived in a hedge. In, like, I don't know, where did they say he lived? Somewhere in the Midwest?
Like Montana, I think.
It's something like that, yeah.
Nebraska, maybe.
Nebraska. I think it's Nebraska, yeah. And it seems like they might be kind of going for something like that mixed with a prequel to Sonic 1, which is weird. The fact that it's a town called Green Hills is a little on the nose, but whatever. I
will say this. Before I found out stuff that I found out, I was prepared for an absolute irredeemable dumpster fire. And now I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. So we'll see how it pans out.
Okay. Yeah, because the last thing we saw, of course, looked like a complete and utter trash heap. But who knows what it's going to be now? I don't know.
And I've tried to be really nice because, as I said before, the Sonic movie will be somebody's first exposure to Sonic, and it will be their personal favorite. And I don't want to rain on their parade. But it was looking pretty...
The real FTA asks, Ian, if I give you a signed legal contract saying I give you full rights to everything and will accept nothing in return, will you listen to my 6-hour-long Sonic OC character / young adult romance novel audiobook?
Oh, Lord. It's you. Again. Clearly being facetious, but...
He may not, but I will.
I mean, technically speaking, yes. If you were to go to the trouble of actually getting a lawyer to legally draft a document exonerating me of any potential claims or whatnot and got me to sign the stupid thing, if you go to all that trouble, yeah, I guess I feel obligated to listen to your fan theories, but just
you don't
if you have that much creative energy, write a fanfic, do a fan comic, express yourself to the internet. Don't waste your time on me, because I have my own hoops to jump through, and the thin attempt at me somehow validating what you find entertaining is not worth all that effort. You do you, everybody. You do you.
You don't even have to get me to sign a contract. You don't have to go through all that trouble. I'll just listen to it. I could use some podcasts. I'm into it. Anyway, we're on to question number 75 from from Tyler Renee M. Since IDW and Marvel are working together, do you foresee any alternative reality crossover events?
That is a good question. I don't know. I know that IDW seems to be doing more of the children's-oriented books using Marvel IPs.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that would facilitate more lighthearted crossover stuff, I would imagine. I don't know. Maybe there are doors open and people that could talk to people. I really don't know. I hadn't even thought of that. Sonic's gang meets the Avengers. That would be interesting.
Sonic and Quicksilver going to get in a race?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
Interesting. Next question comes from Da Big RG. Were you satisfied with a lineup of the Eggy Six from Sonic Forces?
Satisfied in the roster? Yeah, that was a cool mix-up of villainous antagonistic characters. Satisfied with how they were used? Not so much. Not really, no.
Next question comes from Pidgeot Tamer. You mentioned once that you had a love-hate relationships with the Young Justice cartoon. I have similar feelings and was wondering if you could elaborate on yours so I could compare notes. I know with me, it feels like the show used and abused the time skip between seasons, leaving plot threads behind. To be clear, I'm not trying to rag on the show writers, but it would be cool to get a writer's perspective on time skips as a narrative device.
It's funny you ask this, because I just got caught up on season 3, and the show is so frustrating, Kyle. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I've heard it's really good. That's the thing I've heard. I'm like,
when it's good, it's really good. And when it's not, it's really frustrating.
That's how I feel about Supergirl on the CW, to be honest with you. Yes, I watched that show.
And I have not seen it myself, so
yeah,
I'll try to avoid some spoilers for your sake.
But it's fine. But I know the feeling of a very frustrating show that I actually like. But it's just annoying, like the things they do.
Like they try to do more serious, broad-ranging narratives. They try to bring in basically everything from the DC universe and play with it. It's very long form and slow burn storytelling with, you don't get the payoff till the end sort of thing, which is typically stuff that I really love. There's one episode in particular in season 3 where basically all the super parents get together for a play date, and you have all these babies and toddlers and hints of the next generation to come. And I really, really liked that episode because it showed these, superheroes as people. And it gave a sense of this legacy that's building and growing naturally within the world. But the context that it was put in killed off one of the major villains offhand and basically established that the supervillains had more or less already won the game. They knew where all the civilian identities were. They could strike at any time, and they just chose not to for the sake of staving off escalation. It's like, okay, the villains had the complete upper hand. There is no reason whatsoever for the heroes to stand a chance. What are the stakes now? They implied, big changes towards the end of season 1 that didn't get any kind of real addressing until season 3. There are some massive, massive logic gaffes here and there. It tries to address stuff like season 3, especially. The latter half was big on themes of media manipulation and fake news as a weapon between opposing forces, which was really interesting. It's just when it came down to the dangers of using that form of conflict, it was addressed but never resolved. You have heroes confronting each other saying, you used me and called it the greater good. And the other one's like, yep. And, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. Next episode, they do the exact same thing, but it's for the greater good. And it doesn't feel like it's characters not learning from their mistakes. It just feels like they're not communicating between writers and episodes. And there are some, as Pidgeot Tamer said, huge jumps between seasons. Season 1 established Young Justice as a small team, the very concept of the team, who the characters were, the world they were in, and set up a lot of interesting dynamics to be explored. And then they did a 5-year time skip, and Tim is already Nightwing. There's already been a Jason Todd. Tim is now the active Robin. All the relationships between these characters have been completely thrown up into the air. Some characters have left the team and are getting married. They're growing up, and it's like, whoa. That was a season. You just skipped over a season of stuff. And now we're in season 2, and we have all this story to cover in the last 5 years. Plus, you've doubled the size of the cast, introducing new characters with new relationships. And then you drop that in favor of the big threat, and you're focusing on these characters. And season 3 does the exact same thing. There's a very big personal subplot for a new character that starts off the season and ends the season. Kind of defines who they are throughout, but it becomes such a non-issue in the middle, you kind of forget about it. And then the way that character ends their arc is extremely dissatisfying, because not only does it come really, really fast, but there's also this kind of supervillain meddling in the background that removes the teeth from it, whatever, completely. The character didn't make these decisions. It's not part of their growth. They were manipulated. It's mixing what they're doing. The show is trying to be really smart, and it's trying to do a lot of complicated things. And I appreciate that in terms of adult animation. We don't get a lot of that over here. But they try to do so much that I feel like they lose the forest for the trees. You get me?
Sure.
I honestly think, and there, visually speaking, there are a lot of scenes, especially towards the latter half of season 2, where you see a character speaking and the only thing that's moving is their mouth and their hand occasionally coming into the shot, and it's in a little bit of a Dutch angle, so it's not just a straight on shot. And it's like, this is so budget, it screams, we ran out of money. So I think, in my humblest of opinions, season 3 could have been, or should have been, cut to 13 episodes instead of a full 26. That money should have gone into the animation budget, and the plot should have been chopped down by at least a half. I mean, having the wide and diverse cast is nice, but you literally have like 30 active players in the main cast that are added throughout the series, and none of them have proper resolution or anything really to do half the time.
Boy, that sounds like a nightmare.
Like there was
to watch.
There was a particular scene where this couple is having a baby, and it's an interesting thing because it's talking about the metagene and more or less eugenics in a society where folks with powers are becoming more common. It's a very interesting concept. It took me a minute to realize that these were 2 ex-members of the team from season 2. They're out of costume. They're referring to each other by name. And you have to remember who they were in season 2. And in season 2, they were ancillary characters. They were there in that kind of, oh, it's that guy. Oh, wait, here they are in new adult designs referring to each other by name with no real reference of who they were in the previous season's context until one of them suits up because of the story. I appreciate that they're being addressed as individuals with lives in a real breathing world, and it was a nice meta-contextual bit of storytelling, but what did it serve the greater plot, and why couldn't this time have been used on the main characters? Because the resolution to the big world-ending catastrophe, which is almost a retread of season 1 and 2, is one dude shows up unexpectedly and gets a lucky shot off, and everything falls apart for the bad guys. It's really not satisfying. It's like we ran out of time to make this an interesting resolution, so it's kind of a by the seat of our pants lucky shot type of thing. And it's not really satisfying because I feel like that's what they did the last 2 seasons. I don't know. It tries to do a lot. It tries to push the envelope, and I appreciate that. I just feel like they go too far without properly executing what they have.
Sure. And our next question from Playerback771. Would you like to work as Sonic Team to write the stories for the Sonic games, aka the main canon series? We answered this question like an hour ago, but I guess it bears repeating, just in case you forgot.
Yep.
All right. Now these next questions are actually these last 15 questions in the standard Q&A are actually from 3 different people, and they're in blocks of 5, and they're some of our most prolific question askers. So we are going to run through a bunch of questions from them, and so let's go ahead and get started with Liam B. How long is the average Mobian lifespan?
Comparable to a human lifespan.
Why was Sally so angry at Fiona in Journey to the East, aside from the obvious team betrayal?
The fact that she completely manipulated and crushed Tails, who she is very maternal and protective of.
Obviously, there is an element of maintaining an income here, but did you have a plan for a general issue number you would have wanted to end the original series at?
There was never any intention to end the series.
Am I correct in thinking that one of the ambitions of the book as a whole was to see this one-dimensional children's icon like Mario, sublime for his one-dimensional nature, grow up and mature naturally?
No, because he is a mascot character and therefore cannot mature and change over time. Sonic could have learned lessons and learned within the context of his world, but he would not be able to grow beyond a certain point. Sonic must always be Sonic-y.
And finally, don't you think the idea of Sonic and Sally just starting a family in their early 40s is a bit creepy?
Not at all. Not everyone's family begins in their early 20s or teens or whatever. People come together at all points in their lives.
Yeah, I was a little confused by this one. I'm not sure. Creepy might not be the word he meant, but interesting question. And we've got a handful of questions here from James M. Ian, do you respect the Freedom Fighters, and have you actually cared about them?
Yes.
Ian, have you ever read Son Amy fan fiction online, and what do you think of that stuff in general?
No, I avoid fan fiction in all forms because of legal reasons. But if that's what you guys want to do, if that's how you are expressing yourselves, if that's how you're learning to write, go for it. Have fun. Write as much as you want. Go crazy with it.
Ian, do you like the idea of the Silver/Blaze ship?
I can see the appeal of it, but I feel they're more sibling oriented. She's more of a mentor to him. I feel like he's too naive, and I don't think Silver looks at her that way. And I don't think Blaze looks at him that way. I feel like she's got kind of a more older sister mentality towards him.
Did Sonic Riders happen in the IDW Sonic continuity, Ian?
Yes, more or less.
Who is worse, Thanos or Enerjack?
Enerjack dissolved Knuckles for a few minutes and led an army into a city and then lost. Thanos wiped out half of all life throughout all of creation. Gonna have to give this one to Thanos.
But who had the more potential to be bad? It was Thanos. It was Thanos. And finally, our last block of questions comes from actually a patron, Andrew D. You're getting 5 for the price of 1, buddy. With Sonic Generations having classic Sonic thrown into the future at the end of Sonic 2, was the original ending of Sonic 2 overwritten by the effects of time travel? Is there now a parallel timeline / universe where Sonic Generations didn't happen and Sonic 2 played out normally? Any other tidbits of how time works in this new reality? Is it the same as it always been? As it has always been?
Because here's the thing. In Sonic Generations, classic Sonic gets brought over as he's running through Green Hill, which could have happened at any point. And classic Eggman is kidnapped during the end boss of Sonic 2. So right there's an incongruity in the timeline. And it's never addressed how classic Eggman is returned to his own timeline. It ends with both Eggman in the void outside of time. So I just have to shrug at this point. There is no untangling this knot. It's time was messed with. It got fixed somehow. And now classic Sonic is a alternate past dimension? Maybe? High falsetto voice?
It's so weird. I whatever. It's fine. Just let it happen. Just let the inconsistencies wash over you. Just let it happen.
Let it be, let it be. I can't figure out anymore. Let it be, let it be. It's their mess, they'll clean it up. I'm just here writing comic books. It's just a video game. Continuity didn't bother me anyway.
You mentioned that you imagine the characters from the Antiverse, or whatever Moebius was considered, would have the same voices as their Prime Zone counterparts. So does that mean Smalls the Cat was indeed the Mobian counterpart to Big? Moebian? That's how I'm going to say it. Moebian. You have to distinguish it when you're saying it, Ian.
I know.
You have to say Moebian. They're all like little cute characters there. That's what Moebius is.
But yes, Smalls was anti-big, so read all of his dialogue with this voice.
Okay.
Hey there, Scourge. You gonna eat that cornbread? You better watch yourself, gonna get shivved.
Yeah.
It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us.
I still love hearing Duke Nukem lines in that voice. Makes me happy. All right. A simple question. Was the Oil Ocean Refinery from Sandblast City / Matilda / Beauregard Rabbot arc the Oil Ocean Zone?
Yes.
Okay. What would the Moe be in Ivo Kintobor sound like? Jim Cummings' normal voice?
A softer, gentler Mike Pollock. I know that you can make the distinction between the Jim Cummings Saddam Robotnik and the game Eggman. If you really want to do that, sure, it's Jim Cummings' Winnie the Pooh voice. We'll go with that.
Darn, I was hoping it was his Darkwing Duck voice.
Nah, it's too aggressive.
I know. All right. When do the Sonic 2 8-bit adaptation and Tails Sky Patrol adaptation take place in relation to the games? How about Knuckles Chaotix and Sonic R? Would the later Archie canon games be placed chronologically in release order? For example, Sonic Rush, Sonic 06, Sonic Rivals, Sonic Rush Adventure, etc.
Okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Some like Knuckles Chaotix I don't think counts anymore. I'm pretty sure that once the Chaotix were introduced in Heroes, they overwrote any canon representation of Chaotix, except Mighty is back with Ray and Mania Plus. I don't know. There was a time when I really wanted to figure out where each and every individual adventure went to in terms of, exact chronological order, but some of it just can't. And in the end, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the greater narrative. Sonic goes on these adventures and he beats Eggman. And none of them has a lasting repercussion over the series. There's a little bit of a continuity between Sonic Adventure through Shadow the Hedgehog, which we've touched on before. But other than that, really, it doesn't matter most of the time.
Right. I really hate that Knuckles Chaotix has been pretty much excised from continuity, by the way, from canon. I know it's not a great game, but come on, the music, the soundtrack. Oh, it's neat.
But
so
most of the
good.
Most of the good pieces have already been exhumed and reused somewhere else. So
I know, and I also still feel it's a real weird thing that Mighty is not on the Chaotix anymore, or apparently never was. I don't know. I don't know how much I care for that aspect either, but whatever. It's not my franchise. What do I know? I don't make the games. I don't write the comics. I'm just here.
At this point, I'm really comfy with the current trio of Chaotix and then having Mighty and Ray kind of be their own unit.
I guess. All right, and our final question from Andrew D. So, in the comic universe, Sonic 4 takes place sometime after Sonic Heroes instead of between Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Adventure?
Which comic universe? Because I don't remember where I was putting it in Archie Sonic. And Sonic 4 is weird because Metal Sonic is recovered from Little Planet there. So that has to happen before Heroes, because he was stuck on Little Planet. But it's got the modern look to it, so it's got to be after Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but it has to be before Adventure. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just headcanoning Sonic 4 as not existing. As far as I'm concerned, Sonic Mania is Sonic 4. At this point. Because Sonic 4 was just a disappointment. If you're going to call your game Sonic 4, it better be good.
I liked Episode 2.
I mean, it was an improvement over Episode 1. It's not saying much.
I mean, most skin grafts would be, but...
Yeah, I'm like, I was just completely underwhelmed by Sonic 4 overall. I'm sorry to all the fans of it out there, but it just was not what I was hoping for in the slightest. The The music especially was really disappointing, especially because it was Jun Senaway, who I usually love. And I was like, what is this? It was like I think the biggest problem is the instrumentation. The instrument choices just did not work. They tried to go for this Genesis-esque sound, but it didn't sound quite right. So it just ended up kind of sounding like a poor man's crappy Masato Nakamura ripoff. But if I hear it covered in like either covered by live instruments or if I hear it done with actual proper Genesis instrumentation, it sounds really good. I like it, but in the game itself, it just does nothing for me. So yeah, soundtrack for Sonic 4.
I liked Metal Sonic's theme. I thought it was fun.
Wasn't that just Sonic CD's theme, or is that different?
No. It was an original one.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Okay. Anyway, let's get into the Patreon priority Q&A. Also, I should mention that this priority Q&A segment, since it is the 100th episode, it's a very special episode, I have bumped everybody who's a patron up to priority Q&A, just this one time only, because it's a special thing. So, everybody who's a patron, you're getting a question answered here, if you've asked one. This question comes from Tick Tick. If the games take place on 2 worlds, how does a random child know about Angel Island and Little Planet?
If you're referencing a specific random child, I feel like this is a very pointed question. I don't remember what exactly you're referencing, but given that Angel Island is this, land that floats amongst the clouds, and Little Planet is an entire planetoid that just kind of appears for a day and vanishes, I imagine that there are legends that spread. How they spread from the world that they're on to another world, I don't know. There's some cross-pollination between the planets somehow at some point. Stories spread like that, and there you go, I guess.
Okay. Next question comes from PC the Unicorn. So this is something I've always wondered in regards to Sonic's speed. Does his speed work in the same way as the Flash, or does it just make him fast? What I mean by this is if when running, does time seem to slow down from his point of view? Does his speed help him think faster than a normal Mobian/human does? Does he have accelerated healing because of his speed, similar to how the Flash has that power? Things like that.
I think that's getting too comic booky when addressing Sonic. I think Sonic is more of the rule of cool in terms of fast. It's just he's fast.
Ian, this is a comic book we're talking about, though.
You know what I mean. We're not doing like the typical big two, I remember some of high school physics and I'm going to apply it here and try to explain why these super people are super, which honestly I really, really don't like. But I think that's applying too much logic and real world physics to Sonic. He's just fast. I understand why some folks would want to have a little more explanation to that, to ground him in some kind of reality. But I feel like that is kind of a slippery slope, because the minute you start trying to go, okay, how does Sonic perceive things when he's moving at Mach 1? You also have to question the biomechanics of Tails' flight. That he can't do that. That's simply not possible. So if we're going to look at Tails and say, okay, he can fly with his spinning tails, we can just look at Sonic and go, okay, he's fast. And just kind of leave it at that.
All right. Next question comes from Digama. Are we eventually going to get downtime between big arcs for IDW where stuff gets a bit more episodic for a while to let things breathe? We did so back in Archie a few times, like issues 213 to 218 between the Iron Dominion arc and the start of the King Nagas / build-up to Genesis stuff, and the sadly mostly canceled stretch from 288 to whenever the build-up to 300 would have started. But not always, like how we went straight from King Scourge stuff straight into the build-up to 200. Some episodic stuff, basically, maybe with some stuff from other writers, likely a decision in editorial's hands rather than yours. I'm not asking you to confirm specifically, we aren't having downtime between the Metal Virus Saga and the next big arc. Just that the general idea of downtime being a thing could happen between arcs is possibly on the table.
Uh, it's too early to say what will happen between seasons 2 and 3, which I know you said you're not asking that specifically. My approach to IDW Sonic is trying to be more streamlined, more action oriented, more high paced. Because I don't want it to be Archie 3.0. That being said, there has been a lot of positive response to the more slower character driven moments, like in the Tangle and Whisper arc. So maybe I can adjust how I approach things later down the line. Just right now, the main thing for me was to, not only do a good Sonic book, but to make it distinctly IDW Sonic. Because everyone was going to be comparing this to the Archie book from the get-go. Yeah. And I've heard from some folks they seem to think it feels like a continuation of the Archie book, which it's not. I don't know where they're getting that from because I'm not writing it like Archie at all at any point.
Wishful thinking? Wishful thinking?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's too early really to say how I'm going to be approaching things in the next 2 years or so down the line.
All right, and our next question comes from Aaron. If you can reinvent Sonic in a different kind of game style, like open world to MMO, what would you guys do?
Kyle, you have any thoughts?
I've pretty much done what I would do with Sonic, which is a racing game. Multiple times even. I don't know, unless like they did a Sonic game in the style of an MMO where they had basically a more robust version of the character creator from Sonic Forces, and you just made your own character and played around in Sonic's world. But then you wouldn't be playing as Sonic, which some people might crap on.
That and an MMO, at least the most standard model, seems to be a lot of micromanaging and skill trees and a lot of, go to target area to affect X. And Sonic is more about movement and exploration. And I know you can do that to a degree, but it feels like the exploration in MMOs is to get you to the quest marker. It isn't the actual objective. I feel like that wouldn't quite be a Sonic-y thing.
It depends on what sort of MMO you kind of looked at for inspiration. Because, I mean, everything post World of Warcraft is pretty much just kind of a clone of what World of Warcraft is. Mm-hmm. If you look at games pre-WoW, like the one I play, City of Heroes, which I love and adore, I think you could probably do something a bit more like that, where you have more instance-based missions in a larger hub world, and it's all online, and you can play together. You can team up and play together like that. I think something like that might work a little better, but then there's necessarily no reason for that to be online. It could just be an offline thing, unless you wanted to craft certain objectives within missions to be only completable by a certain number of characters or something like that, like a certain team size or whatever. And there could be different paths, like if you wanted to just play by yourself and you wanted to solo stuff, you could. But there would be also much bigger things where you were required to gather a team and go complete objectives. But that's kind of what my thinking would be. Also, City of Heroes, I would say, has a much simpler sort of progression through leveling. You just choose powers and then enhance those powers with enhancements as you level up. Mm. So it's not a big, like, skill sort of different trees arcing through things. It's kind of like you just choose your power set and stuff like that. So I think that kind of thing could maybe work for a Sonic-style MMO, but I don't know. A shadow first-person shooter, maybe?
No, see, if they do that again, I feel like they should do a Sin and Punishment style rail shooter.
That could be kind of cool, actually, yeah.
And to get around the real-world weaponry, they have Wispons now.
That works.
Give him Wispons.
Yeah, that works.
Give him a speed-oriented rail shooter, a couple of divergent paths, build up your chaos meter so you either do Chaos Control, so you stop things and you can shoot everything down, or Chaos Blast just as a quick screen clear. Keep it really punchy, maybe a 20-hour game, $30 on Steam, boom, done. I'd get into it. I'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm down.
I know I've said it before, but I really want a Tales of styled Sonic RPG. I feel like that's the best way to do a Sonic RPG.
That would be really fun, yeah.
And I'm thinking specifically somewhere in the kind of Tales of Abyss, Tales of Vesperia style battle system.
Yeah.
Because as much as I like Berseria and what was the other one? The other game in the series. As much as I like the stories, the battle system to me just feels like this big cluster of special effects that takes no real thought or input. I feel like the Abyss style is more structured. It's easier to maintain your target and pull off some neat stuff. But the Vesperia engine was all about, learning the combo system and pulling off some really flashy over-the-top combos, which I think would really fit the Sonic style. Plus, you have the overworld exploration, which can be tweaked a bit so it isn't so slow. I don't know. I think that would be really, really cool. Also, where's my Metroidvania Knuckles game?
I'm down. That sounds pretty awesome.
Where is my Chow mobile collecting game? It is a gotcha system built into it. Give me the Chow.
That really seems like a foregone conclusion. You think they'd have done that years ago, but no. But yeah, I do like a Tales of style Sonic game. That would be really cool. Then you have skits for character interaction, which would basically just be, character interactions ripped off from Sonic Boom. It's perfect.
Yeah. It works so well. One day, maybe.
Yep.
One day.
Yep. Next question comes from Sinfritz. It was announced that you and Adam Bryce Thomas were working together on a little project called Dragoon a little while back, and it would have a winter 2019 launch. Is it still on track?
It is still on track. Might be tail end of winter, but we are both plugging away at it. There are things completed. The website's basic prototype design is done and is functional. I'm excited because at long last, I'm putting out something that's mine. All mine, except for what I share with Adam. But, original content.
Yes.
With no licensors, no editors, just me and Adam. So stay tuned to the Twitter, to the website. I'm sure we're going to do an episode on it when the thing launches because I have no shame. I'm going to use this show to promote my own stuff.
Yeah, isn't that why we do the show? I mean, half of every episode is dedicated to answering questions for things you do.
Yeah, I guess. That's more giving to the populace.
There's no shame. There's no shame in that. There's no shame.
Dragoon is coming along. It looks fantastic. I'm really excited. But stay tuned. We'll have news soonish.
Very nice. I'm looking forward to it. And finally, question number 100 from our good buddy, none other than Scruffy Matt.
Excellent. Very fitting.
Yes.
Good choice.
He says,
bravo.
Yes. He says, hi, Ian and Kyle. Congratulations.
Hi, Scruffy Matt.
Congratulations on 100 episodes of the BumbleKast.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank you for all the hours of entertainment you've provided us over the last few years, and I hope you get to do another 100 episodes. In celebration...
Hey, Kyle, he thinks we're entertaining. Ha ha!
Boy, do we have him fooled. And only another 100 episodes? Are you trying to say we have a limited shelf life, Scruffy? In celebration of your 100 episode, I thought it might be fun to reveal your deepest, darkest secrets. It's probably not as deep and dark as whatever the first thing that came to your mind was, but oh well.
Yeah, good.
Kyle talked briefly about a couple of the Sonic games he'd never played, but I was wondering what Sonic games you guys have played but never been able to complete. This doesn't necessarily mean 100% completion. If you haven't gotten all the Red Star rings or whatever, I don't think that matters much. But in what games have you not completed the story mode or defeated the final boss? There are a couple for me, but the main one is Sonic and the Secret Rings. The leveling up system in that game was so tedious that I just couldn't be bothered doing it enough to handle the final bosses. I haven't finished Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed yet, but I do intend to go back to that one. Oh, and Sonic 2 for the Master System used to be on this list, but I finally managed to beat it in 2015. Took me over 20 years to master those hang gliders in Sky High Zone.
I have not beaten a single Game Gear Sonic game ever. Period. None of them.
I think I beat Sonic 1 on Game Gear. I had never legitimately beat Sonic Spinball.
Nope, never. I couldn't get past the first stage on that one, honestly.
I could get to the final stage, but after that, it was just a crap show. It just was no good. It was just all over from there.
I still haven't gotten past that one mission in Team Sonic Racing.
Oh,
like the last required drifting challenge. I can't do it. I'm stuck. I can't do it.
I haven't gone back to finish Team Sonic Racing story mode, so maybe I should do that one of these days. What else? I'm trying to think. What other Sonic games I haven't beaten necessarily?
You know what? I don't think I ever legit beat Sonic 2. I would always get, at best, to this one point in Wing Fortress, and I could not figure out how to get beyond it. So every time I beat the game, it was through debug mode.
Huh. That's weird. I never even played Sonic 06. Does that count?
No, that means you won the game.
Oh, good. I played through. I played through the first two stages of Sonic Unleashed, the 360 version, and I just never went back to it. I don't know if that counts. It's like a game. Like it wasn't because I couldn't beat it. It's just because I didn't want to bother anymore. I did the first Werehog stage, and I'm like, "Yep, okay, I get it."
You say that, and the horns just start blaring in my head.
Pretty much.
And it's a fun track. It's a great battle track. But there's so much good music going on in the background anyway, and then it's the same track for every battle. And it's like,
and it starts over at the same point every time, so you only hear the first part of it. You never get to hear the rest of it. It's just a sound design, not the greatest.
It's a good track, though. There's so much good music in that game.
Sonic Unleashed does have a great soundtrack. Yes, I will absolutely agree with that. Also, I've never even played any of the Sonic Boom games, which for Rise of Lyric sounds like I dodged a bullet.
I forgot. I never got around to playing Fire and Ice, and I really did actually want to play that one.
Yeah, I never got around to the DS ones, 3DS ones either. Nope, not at all.
Shattered Crystal's fun. I liked it well enough.
I heard they were decent games. Much better than the the one on the Wii U, of course. Yeah. I think that's about it. I think Sonic Spinball might be the biggest offender. Because I'm pretty sure I beat Sonic 1 on the Game Gear. I want to say I beat Sonic 2 on the Game Gear. I never did finish Sonic Chaos or Triple Trouble, though. So, anyway, I think that's it.
That is 100 of your questions for the 100th episode of the BumbleKast.
Yay!
Thank you, everyone, for seeing us to this milestone. All the patrons, of course, because you're the reason why this show even works. But to our hundreds of subscribers and all our other listeners, you also make us feel validated. If it was just our patrons, it'd be a little different. Like, hey, we're talking to a small room of people. But, seeing those numbers, seeing that there are so many of you that do listen and listen regularly, it feels good. It makes it feel like there's a reason for there to be more episodes. So thank you very much.
Yep. Seeing your interactions with Twitter and stuff. It's fun. We have a good time.
And while I'm being sappy, thank you, Kyle, for keeping the show running, for organizing all the questions, for reminding me that, hey, we were going to record today. Oh, crap, that's right. And balancing the audio and scheduling stuff and just making the BumbleKast happen. I mean, I remember I came to you specifically because of all you've done with KNGI, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do a podcast. I have no idea what to do, but I know someone who should have a pretty good idea to how to get started. And those first few meetings we had talking about how to pick the theme song and how to start it up and the business model and all that was really exciting. So here's to you and our 100 episodes together, sir.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for having me on the show, letting me accompany you through this wild ride and all the craziness that has ensued. And all the fun stuff that has ensued. Like we've met some awesome people. We have a great group of people in the Discord and then the patrons. We have awesome people who leave comments and questions for us on all our various social medias and our email, and we get nice messages there. We also get some very funny messages that are not nice, but they're funny, so keep that up. They make me laugh. I appreciate that, so I'm good. And yeah, so thank you for having me. Just thank you for having me here, Ian. It's nice to know that I'm good for something. And
we can't do all this thanking.
I'm glad to
without thanking the patrons.
I'm glad you thought of me, so I appreciate that.
I
Anyway,
think of you
go
all the
ahead.
time.
Go ahead. You do all the time?
All right. Big thank you to Daniel H, Eric F, Connell T, Alex P, Andrew D, Blue Title Gamer, Koopaling Crew 128, Frederick, Scruffy Matt, Saturn Flicky, Chris A, John B, Jennifer R, Reverend the Light, Lisa M, PC the Unicorn, Duas Dizdin, Dave M, Daniel B, Mike B, Sam P, Sam Cybercat, Degama F Wow, Brody M, Neil H, Justin G, Dan M.S., Silly String, Takaro, Lee H.K., Chevelle, Don B., Sin Fritz, John M., James K., Adam B.T., and Overthinking Films.
All right. Where can the people find you on the internet, Ian?
Head over to my website at bumbleking.com. That has my full portfolio. It's got the release schedule of everything that I've got coming out that I know of. And what else? Oh, yeah, con appearances. Nothing left for 2019, but next year, that's where you'll find what shows I want to be at. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Ian Flynn BKC, and that's where I occasionally announce more stuff that will probably direct you back to the website or over to the Patreon, but that's okay. That's what it's there for. What about you, Kyle?
You can find me on Twitter at KyleJCRB, and you can also head on over to kngi.org, where you can find my other show, Nitro Game Injection, which also streams live Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time over there. Be sure to tune in if you like awesome remixed video game music stuff. It's a good time. It's a good show. You should join in. It's good. It's fun. I like it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have already done 374 episodes of it. Yeah, it's a lot.
We'll have to do something special for your 400th episode.
Yeah, probably. Maybe. We'll think about it.
You can follow the show on Twitter at BumbleKast. Contact us at bumblecast@yahoo.com. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere you get podcasty stuff.
You can also head on over to the Bumble store and outfit yourself with some Bumble gear at shop.spreadshirt.com/BumbleStore.
And every Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, roundabout, we do BumbleKast Gaming Live. Join us for playing any number of video games. We also stream throughout the week. That's kind of a piecemeal thing, so make sure to follow us on Twitter or on the Discord for information on when we're going to be streaming. We'll try to give you as much heads up as possible.
Yes, and you can also head on over to, if you're not listening to this on YouTube already, you can hop on YouTube and click the subscribe and ring that bell and all that fun stuff. Click the like button or the dislike button, whichever one you want. Just do that. It helps us out. So even if it is the dislike button, it still helps us out. That's the secret they don't tell you. The dislike button is just as useful as the like button. Anyway.
So that's it. That is episode 100 of the BumbleKast. Thank you for clocking in all these episodes with us. We hope you've enjoyed. We will see you in 2 weeks for episode 101, because no, we're not stopping. No breaks here. BumbleKast forever. BumbleKast for life. There's no escape. Not for us. Not for you. BumbleKast everywhere.
Wait, there's no breaks? Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I didn't know how funny that would actually be. I'm glad it was funny.
I was stifling my laugh as hard as I could so that you'd have that clean break.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I really didn't expect it to be that funny.
I'm a sucker for the punchline of, the big dramatic statement followed by the not dramatic statement.
Yep. All right. Enough fun. We are serious. Let's get serious.
It's the appointed time. Shall we do this?
I suppose if this is what the people want, I guess.
Sorry, just got to get the cobwebs out.
Why are you eating spiders?
Oh, I don't. They just crawl in as I sleep.
Oh, okay. They definitely do that. That's not a myth.
No, not at all. And honestly, it works out because they catch all the flies that fly in, and, it works out.
Yeah.
Now, when the eggs hatch and, I'm, spitting spiders for 2 days, that's not fun, but that's besides the point. Anyway.
That's a problem.
You want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure.
One sec.
I was trying to stifle a burp, and you go and just cough all over everything.
Sorry.
How dare you? You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
I ran errands today, and everyone was out of their god mind on my road in my way. Dude, Kyle, seriously, I'm leaving Costco, and I hear a crunch, and I turn around, and somebody's backed into somebody as somebody else is backing out.
Okay.
And then in their attempts to pull forward, they crunch into somebody else. Everybody sits there looking at each other for a minute, and then the offender just drives off, and it's like, get me home, get me indoors, get me away from the rest of the world.
I thought they crunched into you. I was like, oh no.
No.
Luckily.
Thankfully, nothing happened to me specifically. But
okay.
It's that kind of thing where you feel like you have to be on guard at every moment, because who's going to do something dumb and do something?
Of course.
Maybe I'm just being cranky. I don't know.
It's Canada, though. Didn't everybody get out of their car and be like, sorry?
No, there's the sorries, but then there's this, incredibly potent passive aggressiveness.
There's the undercurrent of passive aggression. Yes, I am aware.
The absolute withering side eye is kind of the national treasure, and I love it. It's great. It fits my non-confrontational side perfectly. But
Aaliyah's pretty good at that. Being Canadian, she's pretty good. She's pretty good at it.